Here's a fly ball out towards center field. This one's going back, and this one is gone! Taylor gets this one out towards center field to the short porch, and it's a grand slam! It's a floater, out to short, and it's booted off the shortstop's glove! Just like we drew it from Hollywood. Caladros, the 3-2. Swing and a miss! And the Audubon Green Wave have upset the Kingsway Dragons! Grant Fournier, 2-run shot to right. From Point Pleasant Beach, the home of the Garnet Gulls, we welcome you to coverage of Dan Wilkins Broadcasting here from down the shore between the South River Rams and the Point Pleasant Beach Garnet Gulls in Big Central versus Shore Conference action here on this Friday night for our first Friday night special of the year. I'm Dan Wilkins, joined by Matt Goldman on the call this evening. We welcome you here from Donald T. Fioretti Field. It's the first time Point Pleasant has had a home opener in a little while to start off their week 0, but this is versus a familiar opponent in South River who Point Pleasant beat 28-0 last year.
Yeah, and they're returning Matthew Rossi. And Matthew Rossi is a rare breed of a guy who played quarterback, played defensive end, and last season threw for, 470 passing yards, had 8 total touchdowns. I think Rossi's going to have to be the difference maker in this one.
Yeah, I think it's going to be down to a battle of senior quarterbacks. For South River, you have Orion Pereira, who, again, had a good season. Orion Familia, went 41 for 72, 8 TDs, 5 interceptions. It was a good year for him. But, again, South River 3-7. Their only 3 wins came versus Roselle Park, Brearley, and Dunellen, which is where Orion had his best game, where he threw for 180-something passing yards in over 20 attempts. But for Point Pleasant Beach, they had a great year last year with Joe Saccone, 6-4 record, 4-2 in Shore D North, and they actually made the South Jersey Group 1 playoffs. They lost to eventual state champion Glassboro, which is a lot closer to home for me. It's about 3 minutes from Glassboro. Meanwhile, it's an hour 24 to get up here to Point Pleasant Beach. But I'm not complaining. Big thanks to Joe Saccone for having us out here, and Taylor, the athletic director. This is a fantastic place to be, because the only other times we've covered Point Pleasant Beach has been in state semifinal games. But we're going to get back to the starting talking points in just a moment. We're going to pause real quick for the national anthem, and we'll be back in 2 minutes for a little bit more preview and then some football. All right, one more time. Sorry about that. We got cut off by the anthem for a second, but this is going to be an interesting season for Point Pleasant Beach because they are out there. They are without their graduated 1,100-yard rusher from last year, Liam Brosnan. And again, they have some good receiving threats. They do have senior Elijah Ives. They have Michael Marzarella, who is a senior tight end this year for the Point Pleasant Beach Garnet Gulls. And I think that Point Pleasant is favored in this one, considering that they did win by 28 last year. But final thoughts for you before kickoff?
I love Group 1 football. You love to see
fantastic.
Smaller schools go at each other. But I'm excited to see what the Garnet Gulls could do in this one, especially with this new staff. I mean, the offensive line is changed from a season before. They lose Liam Bronson, who had 1,200 rushing yards the season prior. So we'll see what happens. If the passing attack is more prevalent this year, it's going to be a good one here.
Well, we're going to flip you back over to the main board as we've got Point Pleasant Beach and South River ready to go. Here from Donald T. Fioretti Field. This will be taken by Point Pleasant. South River will return. And for our first Friday Night Lights game of the year, an hour and 20 minutes away from home in Point Pleasant Beach. It's a line drive kick. We're underway. It is bobbled by South River. It gets past everybody. It's all the way back to the 10-yard line. South River's got to find their way in. He's backed up all the way. That is going to be a goal line return as South River struggles. And Kamari Koto, first of all, it was bobbled by number 23, Cesar Martinez. And then adding insult to injury is a bobble and then a cat and mouse chase all the way back to the 7-yard line, which is where South River starts their drive. Let's take a look at South River's quarterback for this evening. It's going to be Orion Familia. Well, we haven't been too familiar with South River this year or last year. First time they appeared on DWB was in April. But 41 for 72 last year, just under 500 passing yards, 8 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and 3 games with 100-plus passing yards, his best being a 20-18 win versus Brearley in early October. Rush to the right side by, to the left side by number 14, sophomore Dominic Harris.
It's a good run, keeps the energy up. After a bad kickoff return, it looks like South River's trying to just get anything out of this bad starting field position.
Yeah, that's never easy in this kind of situation, just to have a bad field position. I mean, they really could have taken a knee as soon as they had that ball at the 10-yard line, and they would have saved themselves a little bit, but instead ended up having kind of a low-light play. They're going to run it out of the Wildcat, it looks like, as the quarterback hangs onto it. That is Kamari Koto. So that was a Wildcat run. However, despite the slow start, South River is able to move the chains for a first down.
Kamari Koto is going to be one of the biggest players on the South River team. 800 all-purpose yards in his career as a Ram. He's Rich Marchesti's secret weapon.
Indeed, 5'10", 160. 525 rushing yards in his sophomore campaign in 2025. And a rush to the left side. Doesn't get too far. Ball was spotted at the 20-yard line. We'll see how far they get this time. But South River advancing the ball for what it's worth, considering they were left off the scoreboard in last year's matchup at South River, a 28-0 win for Point Pleasant. They now find themselves in a decent position. I mean, it's not that bad. It's the 23.5-yard line, and you've got already a first down under your belt. The question is, can you keep that offensive progression consistent enough to where you find yourself in the end zone, or at least with some points on the board?
They're going to utilize both Koto and Harris a lot in this possession.
They go right out for a sweep. It's out to Orion Familia, the quarterback, who takes it himself. All rushes for South River in the opening drive. South River now third and mid-range from the 25. It's going to be 3rd down and 5. Already, what I'm noticing here with this rush-heavy drive and this rush-exclusive drive is that you've already knocked off 2.5 minutes in this game, already down to 9 minutes 30 seconds in the opening drive. Saw a lot of that in Clayton and Collingswood this morning in our first game of the day.
Now there's some motion to line of scrimmage.
3rd and 5 from the 25. Out of the shotgun. Wow, this is a really interesting offensive formation. They're running it out of the Wildcat a lot. That was another direct snap to Dominic Harris. So we've seen a mix of Koto. We've seen Familia take direct snaps, the quarterback, who also doubles as a defensive back on this roster, and then Dominic Harris, the sophomore. Koto and Harris both sophomore, or rather now juniors in the 2026 iteration of this roster.
Looks like they're going to go for it on 4th. No punter to be seen.
I'm not too surprised by that. I mean, they don't have any specific special teams units listed here, but in my personal opinion, I mean, listen, this is a team that definitely could use the early momentum again after being shut out in last year's season opener, and it's a good reason why they didn't go for it, why they did go for it. They're across midfield. Kamari Koto gets himself a big run to get across midfield and across the Garnet Gull logo.
Beautiful
Easy first down on 4th and 4. And it'll be at the opposite 47 with South River getting a new set of downs.
Beautiful blocking there from the left tackle, Malachi Newson, which really opened that hole for Koto to hit the left lane.
I definitely like that play design there. This has just been a very unique offense for South River so far. I mean, it hasn't been something that we usually see. I would say it's not prototypical, but in a Group 1 situation, you were talking about how you like Group 1 football, you like what it's all about. Well, it certainly brings a unique flavor to the table each and every night. Another handoff to Koto, swallowed up by the Point Pleasant defense, led by number 59, Alan Micheletti. It'll be 2nd and just about 10, so no gain on the play. Still, though, South River being able to get across the 50 this early after a very, I mean, as a high school reporter, it's your job to try to take something negative and turn it into a positive. But let's be honest, that kickoff return by South River was not good. They got all the way back to the 7-yard line. Now they find a way after a handful of rushes and a handful of Wildcat possessions to find themselves with a first down across the 50. Koto stopped again for a yard at the 46, and this is where the momentum could run out of gas.
Another Wildcat formation, and this direct snap to Koto as he looks like he's going to check out the game as he's made these big plays early. Now Familia checks in.
Yeah, it seems like they're on kind of a rotation of some sort where one guy takes one snap or 2 snaps and then the other ones take a handful. But again, Point Pleasant is going to have to find their own way to respond with their 1,100-yard rusher taking the graduation this past June. Familia rolls out to the right. Oh, intended for Martinez. Tried to grab it with one hand, unable to. That was the first pass attempt of the night. Again, intended for the back, Cesar Martinez, the senior, and we're going to have 4th and 9. We'll see if the special teams unit makes an appearance here.
Familia did a fantastic job. He avoided the free rusher on the right side. And just an unfortunate matter there as Cesar Martinez couldn't hold that one in.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to be the stickler, but he tried to go up with one hand on his left side. And it would have been a nice catch if he made it, but I'm sure that his head coach, for South River is probably telling him, hey, don't do that. Just be simple. Do what you got to do. Leap a little bit if you have to. Get off the ground. We will have a punt here. It is sent by number 12, Ronaldo Gregorio, and it is sent out of bounds right around the 20-yard line. Now Point Pleasant Beach will get their offensive started here in the midway through the first quarter. Listen, I'll tell you this, South River didn't get any points on the board, but they held Point Pleasant Beach to an odd field position, and they wasted half of a quarter with one drive. Here's the starting quarterback for Point Pleasant Beach, Matthew Rossi, the senior this season. 729 career rushing yards, had 628 as a junior, 6 TDs, 5 interceptions. His best game in 2024, was 186 yards versus Neptune. Now, the team did not like that game because they gave up 47 points. However, the problem is that, well, you do have a penalty on the play. What my point is that it was his best individual performance. As we'll have an offsides on South River. That'll make it 1st and 5 here before we get an offensive snap. Now, here's the question for Vincent and, well, I guess for Matt as well, but the first 2 games we've had this year, last night at Clearview and today, this morning, versus Clayton and Collingswood, saw the at least one team who did not receive the opening kickoff scoring on the first play of the game. So if Point Pleasant Beach does it here, we've got some kind of wizard magic if they score on this first play. Rossi is going to let it fly. Oh, my goodness. How about this? Did it just happen again? He's wrestled down at the 10-yard line, and he just flipped the field for a fantastic completion all the way downtown. That ball was headed for the Point Pleasant boardwalk to Danny Kavanaugh.
Fantastic throw there by Rossi. Feeling uncomfortable in the pocket, he rolls out to the right side and finds Kavanaugh, who beats his receiver one-on-one, and a helmet flies off as well.
Yeah, I did see a South River player have his helmet come off. That was Dominic Harris. Fantastic play, though. Matthew Rossi, we were talking with some folks from Point Pleasant before the game. They said Matt Rossi grew 5 inches in the offseason to 6'3". They will have the handoff up the middle. Thought he faked it for a second. I'll tell you, he sold it well. Thomas Iosa, the sophomore, will get the carry. Iosa last year had 4 rushes for 14 yards, appearing in just 2 games versus Neptune and Manchester Township. Now, Matt, you're a grad of Manchester Township. We'll be seeing them next Friday versus Barnegat in Moore Shore Conference play in our, I wouldn't call it home away from home, but it's definitely away from home, I'll tell you that much. Another pitch back to Ayasi. He's going to drive forward. Ball comes out. On the left side, it was just shy of the goal line. That fumble happened around the 2-yard line. Can't tell from our angle who picked that up. It is recovered by the Garnet Gulls, and they do still keep they keep their offensive gains on that play.
Seems like that ball was coughed up late.
That was a very late cough up. You're right.
And Iosa has to watch that. This is a guy coming in, being the lead back in this offense for Bronson, Liam Bronson, a season ago. He had 1,125 rushing yards. So this offensive identity is definitely going to be changed, and Iosa is going to be the face of it.
This time, though, they hand it off to the second man in the order, number 10, Elijah Ives. It's going to be short. And they were on the 2-yard line. What's the call here? Officials are, no, they're going to drop the sticks. We've got 1st and goal. They were able to get it across. But my point is, with Clayton and Collingswood this morning, they had Demetrius Williams graduate, who rushed for over 1,600 yards his senior year. The way that Clayton did it was they had a whole bunch of running backs who really shared the love for the Clippers in their game this morning. But it seems like for Zaccone and the rest of this Garnet Gulls crew, they do have their running back figured out, at least for now, in Iosi, who only came in with, again, 4 rushes on 14 yards during his freshman year. Encroachment on the defense. Not often through these headsets do we get to hear the official that official must have some strong pipes if we can hear him from up in the press box.
Now the Garnet Gulls are within inches of the end zone for their first score of the season.
They are quite close indeed. Wouldn't be surprised if they just try to sneak this one in with the 6'3" quarterback. They do hand it off, and he gets swallowed up. This will be 2nd and goal on the rush by Ives. So a handful of handoffs to Iosa and Ives, and if you remember, they got to this position because of a fantastic pass downfield. That was a statement pass, that first play, from Rossi to Kavanaugh. I mean, Kavanaugh being able to get themselves within 10 yards of the goal on the first play, not only of your drive, not only of your game, but of your season. Fantastic stuff. He's on the carry. He gets through. There's a host of Garnet Gulls in the end zone. It doesn't matter who's got the ball. Point Pleasant scores. They've got their first touchdown of the season. And with 3:26 left in the first quarter, those first 2 drives were very time-consuming, but very worthwhile for the Point Pleasant Garnet Gulls. They lead this thing 6-0.
Good play design. Just get your big quarterback, Matt Rossi, 6'3". Just get him in the end zone. You get the blockers blocking right for him, and that QB snack works to perfection.
They will attempt your standard extra point. Rossi to hold. And we've got penalties. I think somebody jumped on the defensive side.
It's going to be South River.
Yeah, I think South River jumped on the left nose, or on the left edge. Couldn't get the jersey number of the gentleman kicking that time.
14 Dominic Harris was the one who jumped.
Okay, yeah, he's been in the limelight a little bit today. had some wildcat rushes in the first drive for South River and then had his helmet ripped off, or had his helmet come off on that play with Kavanaugh. So now got a strategy change. You get to move up a little bit. Now you get to go for 2, and he will take it himself. Right side, he's in. 2 points, Rossi. And it's an 8-point play for Matthew Rossi and the Garnet Gulls, who lead this thing 8-0 with 3:26 left in the first quarter. It's here from Point Pleasant Beach. We'll be right back in just a moment here on Dan Wilkins Broadcasting. Point Pleasant leads 8-0 over the South River Rams after a fantastic field-flipping reception by, again, the wide receiver Danny Kavanaugh, the junior. And then, how about that, Matthew Rossi with a handoff to Thomas Iosa for the first score of the night, first score of the season, and a ground ball kick recovered by Martinez, who dives on it, and we'll start the South River drive with 3:23 left in the first quarter.
The Rams don't want anything like the first kickoff. That was lackluster, being around the 7-yard line. Now they're around that 30 spot. So this gives an opportunity, some more much-needed breathing room if I'm Coach Rich Marchesi and all the South River Rams.
So they'll start it from the 32. So just joining us, it's South River 0, Point Pleasant 8. A 6.5-minute drive by South River resulted in 0 points. Again, out of Harris. Wow, he's going to get way back there. Fantastic tackle that time. That was number 51, Lucas Adams. Adams was in on that one.
Dominic Harris just having a rough time. We saw the penalty on the extra point that led to 1 or 2 extra for the Garnet Gulls, and now he's blown up behind the line of scrimmage. Not his best outing by any means.
Yeah, listen, I mean, for Dominic Harris, this is never, for any player in this kind of situation, it's never easy when you have a series of unfortunate events back to back to back. But it's still in the first quarter. It's still plenty of time for him to turn it around. And I think South River's offense, we got movement. Question is on who it is.
The Garnet Gulls are pointing to the Rams.
And it is a false start against the Rams. So it was 2nd and 16 on a 6-yard loss by Harris. And now it will be a 5-yard loss on the false start. So it's now 2nd and 21. First down marker is at the 22-yard line. They're spotted on the 21 with 2:15 to play in the first. This time it's a traditional handoff, and he continues to get snuffed out. So this is going to be 3rd and even longer as they're going to back this one up to right in between the 19 and the 20.
The two most explosive playmakers, as we've seen so far, have been Cotto and Harris, and both are not having too fun of a time on this possession. It's looking like that defensive front for the Garnet Gulls are really having their way so far.
And like we said, now it's going to be 3rd and about 22 with the first down marker at the 20 and the current line of scrimmage at the 20. Orion throws to the right side, gets a couple of yards. He's able to keep it in play, but it's still going to be 4th and quite some distance.
We saw a punt for the Rams when they crossed midfield, but I think they're going to try to attempt anything in their power to make something work. They can't get down 2 scores early.
Especially knowing the history, right? It was 28-0 Point Pleasant at South River's house this time last year. Same opening night game. Of course, it's a little bit different when you're in this environment. Nice little stadium, nice little place down the shore compared to South River in the Big Central Conference. This is an inter-conference matchup. Big Central for South River in the Shore D North Division. As it's returned by Kavanaugh, right side, he's going to get tackled at the 47-yard line. Tackle made by South River number 63 on that play. Yeah, that Peter Alai, the sophomore. So Point Pleasant's first couple of returns have been decent. They'll start on the opposing 47, and they'll have 36 seconds. I won't be surprised if they just run one play and then let the time expire. Wouldn't be too shocking for me, but 8-0 Point Pleasant Beach after, again, a rushing touchdown and then a 2-point conversion by the quarterback, Rossi. Rossi fakes the handoff. Could he let this one fly again? He lets it fly. There was some contact with Rossi going down. That was number 52 for South River, Junior Funes. Rossi got hit as he threw. The intended target was number 0, Jalen Krieger, the freshman. However, again, that's just always difficult in the pressure pass situation there. The pocket was collapsing really quickly. South River was getting in very quickly on that play as well, and Rossi did not have an abundance of time like he did when he hit Benny Kavanaugh downfield. He didn't have a lot of time. This time he pitches it back, gets past the line of scrimmage, but not much farther outside of that. It's going to be 3rd and maybe about 9.
Going back to the play on the first down, Rossi had his eyes downfield. He was looking for something explosive, but that pressure got in his face right away, and nothing could come to it.
Looks like they're going to let the clock run down. Under 10 seconds to play in the first quarter, and it will end with an 8 for the Garnet Gulls and a zip for the South River Rams, just like it was last year. At the end of the first quarter, it's the Garnet Gulls 8, the Rams 0. You're watching coverage of the Point Pleasant Beach Garnet Gulls. There's your replay of the first touchdown and the only touchdown of the night. We'll be back in just a moment. Third and 9 for the Garnet Gulls starting off the second quarter. This broadcast is brought to you by Rowan College of South Jersey, New Jersey's premier community college. Become a Roadrunner today at rcroadrunners.com or rcsj.edu. Second quarter ready to go. Garnet Gulls up 8-0 as we turn everything around with Rossi heading downfield. Lines a pass to the right to Ives. It's caught. He will get all the way to the 30. That's a 16-yard gain. It's a Garnet Gulls first down and then some, and now they've already found themselves in the 30 on their first play of the second quarter.
Rossi looks cool, calm, and collected. He's definitely improved himself as a passer. This was a rush-heavy offense the season prior, but now multiple pass plays to get the season started, and Rossi looks comfortable. The offensive linemen are really working their magic so far.
One of the best wishes a head coach can ask for is a quarterback that is in control of his own mind, body, and soul. And that's exactly what Michael Rossi's got right here. He's got himself a fantastic core of wide receivers, and he knows exactly where he wants the ball to go. Iosi on the rush, doesn't get too far. That'll be second down. It seems like the pass is more effective right now, at least, because Rossi's just able to put those passes on a bullet express. I mean, it is quick. He's got a quick release. He doesn't let that hand fall too far down on that pass. He's able to just let it fly. It's a low angle. It's a sharp angle, and it's able to get himself in fantastic position for these drives. And that's why they're at the 30 right now. That's why the first play of the drive saw a 70-yard gain from the 21-yard line to the 10.
The strength for South River seems to be that interior defensive line, but the weakness is the defensive backs.
That seems to be spot on right now as Rossi has time. This one is over to the left side. It's complete. How about this for Krieger? He's got some space. Broke a couple of tackles.
What a play there from the
Man,
freshman.
he almost got into the end zone on a 30-yard play. He's going to be about a yard or two short.
First high school game for Krieger. He almost broke 3 tackles and got his way into the end zone.
That was just fantastic stuff there. And again, aided by Rossi, who again kept those passes at a very low arc. We'll see if they can get into the end zone. They are 1st and goal from the 1-yard line. This should be, we'll see how quickly they can get into the end zone here. Rush, good. Touchdown, Garnet Gulls. I believe that was, couldn't tell if that was Ives on the rush that time. But it is now a 14-0 game. 2 scores now separating the Rams and the Garnet Gulls. Looking very similar to the outcome of last year's contest between these two teams.
Looks like they're going to go for 2 again. And Elijah Ives really just stepping up to that.
Remember what happened last time. They wanted to go for 1, and then South River jumped off sides, and they went for 2. They are going to go for 1. It looks like Kavanaugh to kick, Rossi to hold. To make this 15-0, it is up, away, and good. Extra point is good, and we've got a 15-burger with 10:03 left in the second quarter on Saturday, August 30th at the Chamberlain Student Center at Rowan University for their Saturday night SmackDown. The Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators running out of Rowan University for that special August event. This broadcast is also brought to you by Harper Driving School. Over 90% of students who take their New Jersey State driving test with Harper pass on the first attempt. If you like those odds, book an appointment today at Suite 4 of the Total Turf Complex in Pittman, right off of Lambs Road. So Kavanaugh, who had the statement reception on the first play of the offensive front for Point Pleasant Beach, now tasked with not only kicking the extra point, which he was able to do successfully, and now he'll kick this one off with Harris to return. Left side. Oh, it's going to get past him. Back to the 15. Harris has it again. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. He's swallowed up at the 15. Another ill-fated return by South River. And they will, again, not have optimal field position to start this drive with 10 minutes exactly in the second quarter.
Special teams performance has been lackluster for the Rams, and that's been a big point of emphasis so far. They've got 2 bad starts in field position. It's just nothing's working here in the special teams unit, so we'll see what happens later in the game. But for right now, it's definitely a struggle.
And Point Pleasant Beach has certainly been able to pounce on that. See if they'll be able to get a little bit more, or if South River will be left off the board once again on their 3rd drive of the night. Another rush to the right side, didn't get too far. They start their drive from the 15-yard line. It reminded me a little bit of a game that we had between Haddon Township and Clayton last year at Haddon Township, where Haddon Township won the game 29-7, but they recovered 3 onside kicks of their own during the game. Now, it's not like the NFL rules. You can onside kick whenever you want, but in the first half alone, they first of all, gutsy move by Haddon Township. They had an onside kick to start the game, and they recovered it. It was fantastic stuff, and they won that game 29-7. Another sack in the backfield, going to be 3rd and long.
That's going to be the freshman, Jalen Krieger.
Krieger's doing a lot tonight.
Yeah, first high school game.
Yeah, that's fantastic stuff. Where are they going to be here? Their first down marker is at the 25. Wow, they're at the 7. It's going to be 3rd and 17, and at least in their first drive, they had a couple of first downs. They had a little bit of promise getting all the way up to the Point Pleasant 47 in enemy territory. Trips formation to the right for South River. Would have to think they're going to pass, but they do send a man in motion to the left. That being Cotto. Right side, he's got a lot of room. Orion lets it fly, and it's picked off. Interception puts Point Pleasant in prime position after the pass is picked off by number 1, Ben Marzarella.
Marzarella read that like a book. A bad decision there for Familia. He had a somewhat open lane. He was not going to get the first down, decided to throw the ball, and now risks a turnover. And the Garnet Gulls are in fantastic field position. Just weak play after weak play. It's not going to get any offense, and South River is just consequences thus far.
I mean, to play devil's advocate, I'm not too I wouldn't call Pereira, I keep saying Pereira, Orion Familia. There's a minor league baseball player somewhere, Orion Pereira, but his decision to pass, I don't think is that ill-fated. It was 3rd and 17, and you're in bad field position. I don't know what other choice you have. Floats it out to the right side. How about Kavanaugh? Was he able to get that one? Yes, he did. That's a 20-yard touchdown on the first play. How about a flip it and rip it? Interception by by Marzarella. And then on the very next play, Rossi rips it 20 yards down the field to the right pylon. And that is another passing touchdown here, as it is now 21-0.
Rossi and Kavanaugh, those are the two. That's the connection today. Ran a nice post to the outside, and threw that ball perfectly over his shoulder, beat the defensive back. Now a 3-score lead.
Hold on, we've got stoppage here. You see a penalty? Another offsides on South River. It's the second time they've had that issue prior to a PAT.
Just undisciplined football by the Rams. It's just nothing's getting easier today.
And it doesn't help when you're down at this point. Your guys are getting frustrated. Your coaches are getting frustrated. It doesn't make you feel good. And honestly, I mean, the head games are there. You know the history. You know how this game went last year. South River wants it to be just a little bit different, and that snap went over his head, but we've got another very late flag, although that might have been – okay, they had a false start. I think the referee called a penalty and then forgot to throw the flag in the air. Welcome to Group 1 football, ladies and gentlemen. Our second Group 1 game of the day. We saw a fantastic game between Clayton and Collingswood this morning. This is our second game of the day. We covered Clayton and Collingswood this morning at 10:30. Final score was 27-20. Your player of the game was Terrence Goffney. This is going to be back at they're snapped at the 10. But the extra point is good. Couldn't tell from our angle. But he kicks it from 10. That would have been good for a 28-yard field goal. I mean, you have one more false start, and that's an NFL extra point back at the 15. 8-11 in the second quarter, and Point Pleasant Beach already up by 20 and then 2. 22-0. We'll be right back. Eight minutes and 11 seconds left in the second quarter, and this game is already looking like it's in the hands of Point Pleasant Beach. However, can't be too sure. South River comes back, Harris returns, and he's going to have some good space here. He's actually going to have a lot of space. However, he took a bad route. He probably should have gone straight, but cuts to the right instead. And I don't know how many more yards he would have gotten if he went the alternative way. But South River, with an admirable field position start, 35. And a lot of times, when you're on the losing end of that, you try to find any kind of positive that you can, take home with you. Harris up the middle. He's going to get about 10 yards that time. So, again, this is looking a little bit closer to their first drive. where they crossed into enemy territory for the first and to this point only time.
Looks like some orbit motion behind the scrimmage there with Harris. And as we saw, Harris made some bad plays today, but now he's got his head in the game. 2 back-to-back solid chunks of yardage, and Harris should be good.
Yeah, at this level of high school football, it doesn't take much to be forgiven, especially in the eyes of a coach, as we've got an official timeout. Wonder if we're going to get a measurement out here.
It looks like Harris took a knee.
Yeah, the players are taking a knee, so there's somebody needing assistance. But I thought maybe with it being 2nd and 1 that they would ask for a measurement, but instead, well, actually no, the Point Pleasant's taking a knee, but South River isn't, so to be quite honest with you, I'm not sure what delay is. I don't see anybody getting...
I saw Harris take a knee right near his sideline, drop down, and then he walked off on his own power.
Oh, yeah, I think I saw somebody in an athletic training staff for South River over there. Just hard to tell because all the players were kind of surrounding that area, and it was hard to tell who was there, if anybody was hurt.
Attempting to gatekeep the injury.
I don't know if it's that. It was more just a bad angle on our end. Not much you can do there, but listen, I mean, week zero in football, I call it cramp week. I mean, we had a game last year that had a 32-minute quarter, and by the 4th or by the 3rd, half of the stoppages were for cramps. It was just cramp, cramp, cramp. Once you get into October, you're fine. Once you even get into like the 3rd or 4th week of September, these players are fine. It's the first real game of the season. It's the first test where a lot of times you get the old Charlie horse. They were able to convert on the 2nd and short, and now the South River Rams are lined up with a first down. Now, for those of you watching for the first time, if you are watching for the first time, we are not too native to the area, if at all. Like I said in the open, I haven't been to Point Pleasant Beach since I was a very young kid about 15 years ago. Harris again on the handoff. He'll get about 2 yards.
He may
about
be
the
banged
47.
up.
Yeah, he giving him another handoff after the injury stoppage that time. So it will be at the 48, and it'll be 2nd and 7. But my point is that for those of you not familiar with us, I'm a 2nd-year student at Rowan College of South Jersey. My producer, Vincent, is a 2nd-year student at Camden County College. And then my color commentator, Matt Goldman, making his first DWB appearance today. 2nd year, right, at William Patterson?
Yep.
Just making sure we're all on the same page. You looked a little bit older than me, so I wasn't sure, to be quite honest with you. But
maybe it's the mustache.
yeah, I can't grow a mustache like you do. I've been trying. 2nd and 7. Orion sends it out, left side. They'll get past the 50. They might get on the 50. Late flag after the tackle. Might be an unnecessary roughness call, not sure, but a flag came flying in right at midfield at the very end of the play, if not after the play was over.
Looked like there's some extracurriculars on the South River sideline. With energy, tensions are high right now. South River's down by 22, and maybe some unnecessary fatigue got the better of them there.
They're pointing at Point Pleasant here. Let's see what the call is. Personal foul on Point Pleasant. Yeah, when you've got a hodgepodge of players over there, it's very hard to tell what goes on, especially when we're up here in the press box. Our camera only zooms so much, and to be quite honest, you only see a little bit of everything that goes on down there. If we were sitting at the top row of the South River bleachers, we probably could have seen who hit who and who deserved what penalty. But even though there were some extracurriculars, actually keeping a cool head is going to help South River here because it's a 15-yard penalty. They've got 1st and 10 from the 34. Rams' best field position all night. Spinning, a couple of spins that time by Kamari Cotto.
3 times there.
Yeah. I think one more and he would have turned into Sonic the Hedgehog, would have tried to get some extra rings out there. Well, I'll tell you this, South River doesn't need the rings, they need the points. They're down 22, 5.5 minutes in the 2nd quarter. 2nd and 10, and sometimes that's one of those examples where flashiness does not equal results. Cotto tried to, be kind of, the everyday man that time, getting a couple spins, trying to be a little bit impressive, but at the same time didn't get any gain on the play. If South River follows the fundamentals that they've been working with in that first drive, I think they'll be fine. That pass is dumped off to the right side. It is caught, and it is all the way up to the 15-yard line on the reception by number 33, Felipe Granadero.
That seems to be, as you mentioned, Felipe Grandero last year, just under 100 tackles.
Hold on. We have offensive pass interference that's going to bring them back.
It's a bonehead mistake after bonehead mistake for the Rams.
Actually, was that offense? Was that OPI or was that a block in the back? Either way, that is a big mistake. They would have been with no flags in the red zone for the first time tonight. However, I believe that I got a glimpse of the referee at the last second. Couldn't tell if that was a block in the back or offensive pass interference, but either way. It is now 2nd and about 12. Timeout called by the Rams. It's the first of the half. The Rams take a timeout, and so will we. We've got 4.5 minutes in quarter number 2. There's something flashing up there over on Jenkinson's boardwalk. I think that might be a radio tower of some sort, but we've got 4.5 left. It was catching my eye for a little bit, so I had to zoom my camera up to it. We'll be right back. Garnet Gulls up 22-zip. Out to the right side. That one is a diving catch, flying forward. It's Harris who comes in with it, and again, we criticized Harris earlier, but now he is really getting himself back in. A couple of nice catches, and again, he's had some nice rushes as well. He's been somebody that South River has been able to lean on. It's now 2nd and 6 from the 14-yard line.
Dominic Harris, 300-plus all-purpose yards a season ago. So he's trying to catch the ball as much as he can. Now with the bigger role in this offense, the sky's the limit for him.
And he's definitely going to have a good chance to prove himself tonight. High snap. Orion drops back. It is caught just in front of the line of scrimmage. Granadero has it. And that should bring him the 3rd and short, because I think he got maybe a few yards after the play, or after the catch. By the way, we got confirmation that little light over the houses over there, that is a roller coaster, actually. The Point Pleasant, of course, a part of Jenkinson's boardwalk that's open until Halloween. I was saying in the open, I haven't been to Point Pleasant at all in 14 years, when I was 6. And yes, that is it's been surprising to some of our newer viewers that I'm 19 years old. Some people think that I'm 30 or something like that, but no. That's all we got. Cotto, left side, 3rd and short. He's got to get across the pylon. He's going to get out of bounds. No, he will stay in bounds, but he's tackled shy of his end goal. I mean, it seemed like he swept out a little bit too deep there. Feel like he could have cut forward a little bit earlier.
That's what I thought as well.
Now it's going to be 4th and 1. No, it's going to be 4th and 4.
Krieger read it like a book, ran exactly foot for foot with them, and Cotto tried to get the outside leverage, but nothing was going to work there.
Yeah, if he cut forward a little bit easier. Here comes Harris. He's got some space. Does he get a first? This could be close. No, it is short. Point Pleasant Beach takes over by about a yard. And again, it's the little things that change everything in this game, as South River, with their best offensive drive yet, for the first time they got into the red zone. They got as far as the 12 or 13-yard line. However, a 4th and short stop gives the Garnet Gulls the possession back. 1st and 10 from their own 14. Now, it's not to say that this drive will be easy, but when you have a quarterback like Michael Rossi under center, or in this case in the shotgun, he could do some damage. We saw what happened with Kavanaugh. First play of the drive, flips the field, sends him for 71 yards. We'll see what he's got on this first play. 2:07 left in the half.
3 total touchdowns today for Rossi as well. He's thriving in his senior year.
Fakes the handoff, left side. It's caught. He's got open room. And he'll get shoved out of bounds by Cotto. Catch made by Ives. And able to keep the clock stopped with 1:59 left. And that was plenty for a Point Pleasant first down. Again, starting their drive not in the best position from their own 14, but that play was good for 17 yards. And they're now in much better position. 1st and 10 with 1:59 left from the 31.
Coach Zaccone's MO here is just score, score, score.
I mean, they could hit 28 in the first half after hitting 28 all game last year. Spinning, Krieger, hello! He's crossed the 50, he's still going. How about this for your first high school game? He pushes him away, he wrestles him to the ground, and he's at the 10-yard line. How do you do, Krieger? In a 22-0 game in his first high school appearance as a freshman, he will make everyone impressed within a 5-mile radius because he just made that play fantastic. From his own 31 all the way into the opposite red zone, they go to the 10-yard line. That is a 71-yard gain on a relatively short pass on a slant. Or I think that might have been a curl play right up the middle to the freshman, number 0.
It's we're number 0 for a reason.
Exactly.
71 yards on that one, and we saw him break a couple tackles earlier on another reception.
1 minute, 23 seconds left in this first half. Fantastic stuff from Michael Rossi. Fantastic stuff from Point Pleasant Beach's number 0, Jalen Krieger. We'll be right back. 1:23 to play in the first half. As we come back, penalty marker on the play. Minute 18 and a half. Stay tuned for the Dan Wilkins Broadcasting Halftime Archives series, where we go through some of the greatest clips in Dan Wilkins Broadcasting history, from walk-off home runs to game-winning touchdowns to half-court three-point shots for playoff victories. False start on the Garnet Gulls, but during the halftime break, before we come back for the DWB Halftime Show, enjoy the Archive series where we will show you the best of the best from our nearly 4-year history with Dan Wilkins Broadcasting. Speaking of 4 years and speaking of history, tune in on Saturday, October 4th, for DWB's 4-year anniversary show. An 11 a.m. kickoff between the Gateway Gators and the Woodbury Thundering Herd will be preceded by a pregame show highlighting our 4 years and over 550 broadcasts across all of New Jersey and the tri-state area. Rossi rips through, gets broken through a tackle, and he dumps it off to get the completion down.
Sidearm throw there from Rossi.
Yeah, I barely even saw it leave his hand.
Time's ticking, though.
I mean, they've got 40 seconds left, but we'll see if South River calls this last timeout. It is the Garnet Gulls who call their last timeout. Second and goal, or rather, second and 8 as we continue to stay on the air. Just some heads up for future programming on Dan Wilkins Broadcasting. We're back on the air from Salem County. Yes, Salem County. That's how far we've traveled this weekend. To cap off a 4-game opening weekend, it's the Paulsboro Red Raiders and the Pennsgrove Red Devils in a battle of 295 Warriors. 12 noon kickoff from Pennsgrove at Saturday from Jim Devonshire Field. And then Tuesday, we'll take on the virtual banks of Dover Motor Speedway in BPNR, 6th race out of 17. Over from Dover Motor Speedway, it'll be a 100-lap bout between some of the best in online sim racing. Again, from virtual banks of Dover, Delaware. Tracks that I've been to a couple times, except we get it in the eSport variety. 8:50 is the start time on Tuesday, September 2nd. 38.2 seconds left as the Garnet Gulls burn their first time out. A low snap. Cut to the right. It's caught by Ives. Has a tackle. Gets wrestled out of bounds. And they drop the pylon. Question is, will it be enough for a first down with the clock stopped with 30 seconds and a chunk of change?
Ives looks like he was just shy. Nonetheless, Rossi still dicing defense up here. Everyone's eating on this offense, whether it's Kavanaugh, whether it's Krager, whether it's Ives. Just a fantastic outing. His receivers have been on point today.
I mean, listen, if you're Coach Zaccone, whether you're up by 22 at the half or 29 or 30, I don't know if it matters. You're already up by a lot. Obviously, he'll have his individual criticisms and his individual techniques or, advice or demands. But in this case, they're doing pretty good. Rossi rolls out to the left. He's got a pass on the run, too high. Incomplete. It was a fantastic effort intended for Ives. And now it will be 4th and short. The only thing that makes me confused about this being 4th and goal is that the pylon is still up on both sides. They haven't dropped the sticks. That's where I'm a little bit confused. We have Point Pleasant Beach calling their second timeout. Week 1 for Dan Wilkins Broadcasting football this upcoming weekend. We'll be back in the Shore Conference on Friday, but first we've got a top 20 South Jersey powerhouse, Pennsauken and Washington Township, 6 p.m. on Thursday the 4th. And then Friday the 5th, we return to Manchester Township for the Barnegat Bengals and the Manchester Township Hawks, 6 p.m. There will be a pregame ceremony at 5:45 honoring the retiring athletic director, Mike Lister, who has been working at Manchester Township for 38 years. He retires on Friday. Keith Lister, my apologies. Like I said, I'm not from here. I gotta freshen up at some point. And then Saturday, we've got a battle of North and South. Morris Catholic versus Gloucester Catholic from Gloucester City High School, 11 a.m. I knew it didn't sound right when I said it. 4th and just about 4, it looks like. Pylon is on the goal line. Rossi rolls out. He's going to try another pass. He's going to try the same play, and this time it's good. Touchdown, Point Pleasant. It is Ives again. No doubt about it. They will have now matched their point total from last year's matchup between these two teams.
Finally, Eliza Ives finally getting that touchdown. It seemed like he was going to get there, but finally secures his first this season.
Again, last year's final was 28-0. Point Pleasant Beach winning in South Rivers House. They have a chance to send this one into the stratosphere at the tail end of the first half. They'll go for the PAT with Kavanaugh. Are you kidding me? This is another one? This time it's a false start. Okay.
Feels like every extra point there's
a
penalty.
I feel like we've seen more flags during the extra point proceedings than we have during regular play tonight.
Which is ludicrous. It's absolutely abysmal.
I mean, I see it a lot in Group 1. First of all, I think that a Group 1 team having a kicker as talented as Kavanaugh is good, because there's not a lot of teams that have that. For Collingswood today, we saw Lino Battaloni line up as a kicker and punter. Oh, they're going to fake it. Rossi fakes it. He's all in trouble, and he's caught it. Are you kidding me? They convert for 2 with a cherry on top. Before the end of the half, they fake a PAT, and they pass it out. Wow, I'm impressed and a little bit shocked that they went with that up by 28, but they make it an even 30.
Just to add more insult to injury for the Rams, which seems like a mean, but Coach Zaccone really not taking his foot off the pedal to that.
They'll take if this gets to a running clock, that's when you take the foot off the pedal. I don't think that there's any reason for them to do so right now, but Blaze Scholander the sophomore, was the one who picked up the two-point conversion, as we have 18.8 seconds left in the first half. South River 0, Point Pleasant Beach 30. Like I said, I'm a little bit surprised they went with the fake PAT, but like I said, if it gets to be a running clock, that's when you pull the plug. That's when you take your starters out of the game or whatever. But they have already surpassed the amount of points that they have scored in last year's contest versus the Rams. They went 3-7 last year. 2 of their wins came in the Freedom Gold division of the Big Central Conference. Kick is trailing to the left. This is again going to get past South River. It's going to get past, I think that's Harris again. Harris will get sent down, and he'll stay on his feet at around the 22, and they'll have time for maybe one play, if not 2. 14 and a half seconds remaining in the first half. It is Point Pleasant Beach 30. An interesting thing about Point Pleasant Beach, I asked Joseph Saccone, the head coach for Point Pleasant Beach, to give me some interesting facts to mention about this team. Well, how about what you see on your sideline here? The entire Point Pleasant Beach football team. That is 30% of the male population of Point Pleasant Beach High School. 30% of all 9 to 12 grade men in Point Pleasant Beach in the high school play for the football team. And I said, how does that work? Well, he said, we have 299 students enrolled, 150, so about 150 males, and you have 40 of them on the football roster. And that blew my mind with how small of a school this is. He'll go down as we'll have 5 seconds left, and they'll run it down, and this game is being run down by Point Pleasant Beach. A fantastic first half by Michael Rossi, who is showing his true colors tonight. It's a home opener to remember for the Garnet Gulls, as they will enter the second half 4 points away from running this clock out the rest of the night. It's 30-0 at the end of the first half. We'll be back at about 15 minutes, but instead, at this time, enjoy the Dan Wilkins Broadcasting Archives presentation, where we show you the best of the best over the last 3 years of Dan Wilkins Broadcasting from all over the tri-state area. We'll be back in, again, just about 15 minutes. And it gets past everybody. Graham will go back to position with no goal scored. They'll count down the time out loud here. Out to the left. One final shot, and it gets through. How about a buzzer beater? How do you do? It's a lead extending goal for Justin Lewis. Jersey is the number 2 seed. As we said, they beat Manville 19-0 in the first round, which was even larger than Audubon's 16-0 win over Paulsboro as the 1 seed in the first round. That one's hit out towards center field, straight away. Oh, she misjudged it. Got over her head in center field. Now this one's got a chance to be 3 bases for Spire. She's flying around third. Here comes the throw to the plate. It is not in time. What a way to kick off a semifinal with an inside the park home run. Emma Spire, who will take her talents to the Great Danes after 2026, lights up the scoreboard with a fly ball that got misjudged in center field. Ugly to end the day. Side, he calls for it, and for the first time in 33 years, the Charlotte Cougars will hoist the trophy and face Middlesex on Monday. 4-3. Cougars win it. And in the battle of green and gold, the trophy stays true with the visitors. What a finish. And Shalleck will pack their bags for Middlesex and the Blue Jays when the weekend turns around to Monday. In life, the road ahead is full of possibilities, but to navigate it safely, you need the right skills. Harper Driving School is the premier driving school serving Gloucester, Salem, and Camden counties. With experienced instructors, many of whom are teachers in local schools, we are dedicated to your success and will help you master the road with confidence.
With an over 95% success rate of students passing their road test on their first try, you know your student will be in good hands while embarking on a huge step of their young adult lives, all while avoiding the lines at the DMV and getting insurance discounts.
We chose Harper, and so should you.
Jack Mostero, 2 for 3 with a strikeout, a double, and a single. Looking to play hero. He's going to line this one into right center field, and that's going to drop. That's going to do it if they don't get a throw down. Mostero's going to second, and Danza's coming home. Sectional champions, Gloucester Catholic. They do it in a walk-off fashion as GC with Mostero playing hero. An unbelievable. So after the holding call to be 1st and 20, as now rolling out to the right side, he's got a little bit of room to run. On a QB rush, he's going to get a first down. There's no flags, and how about this for 61 minutes? At the end of the first half, it's been all Point Pleasant Beach. They're up 30-0 on South River. We thought that Point Pleasant Beach would be favored in this game, but I didn't even expect them to put this much up in the first 24 minutes of play. Matt, this has been a Michael Rossi fantastic masterclass. He has been electric all night. We talked about, with their folks before the game that he grew 5 inches in the offseason.
Which is wild.
And first of all, anybody doing that is bound for stardom, especially when you're facing the school that Drew Pearson and Joe Theismann graduated from. And now they've put up 30 in the first half. First of all, your thoughts.
I mean, Matthew Rossi has been unremarkable today. 4 total touchdowns, 3 in the air, 1 on the ground. He's been great. There's no denying that. The running game has been a little suspect, but with Rossi dicing up the defense, it's been fantastic. What really striking to me is South River just looks defeated out there.
Yeah.
Every opportunity they get is just sloppy after sloppy after sloppy possession, and this is why Point Pleasant, the Garnet Gulls, are really just taking it over to that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think the emotions are getting to them a little bit. I think that they are right now, again, as you said, defeated, a little bit deflated. They had a really good drive at the end. They got all the way up to the 15-yard line, and then a turnover on downs did them in. So, listen, game's not over. Still got 24 minutes left. Quarter number 3, it is 30-0, Point Pleasant Beach. It is not the record for the most points scored in a half that belongs to Woodbury, who scored 45. There was a penalty after the play.
Krager.
It was after Martinez got the tackle on Krager.
Whether it's coming back or not, Krager is very elusive, very shifty, and we see that on that return. A freshman coming to that game, a ton of confidence.
Blocking the back on Point Pleasant. So it was a good return on paper, but the flags knock it back, knock it down. Point Pleasant's got 9 guys on the field. They're up to 10 now. No, well, now you got Rossi out there, so now you're up to 11. Okay. You know, honestly, it's better than the alternative, which is we saw a Pee Wee football game about 2 years ago where a team accidentally had 14 players in the huddle. It looked like a Baptist church out there. Rush up the middle, going to get snuffed out at the line of scrimmage. At the 30, I think at the 35, looks like, is where they'll line this one up.
I know we've credited the passing game today with Rossi, but the rushing game does not seem to be as good as it was in seasons prior. This run-heavy offense has turned into an air raid attack, and unfortunately, just not really doing anything to get the ball moving on the ground. It's been a lot of Rossi at the helm just chucking it.
They've got 2nd and 10 after a rush. They'll go back. A 2-on-1 matchup. South River wins that one. Some South Jersey out-of-town scores. Now, usually when I'm talking about South Jersey out-of-town scores, I'm usually referring to something that is pertinent to our area. But when I mention Millville and Rancocas Valley, that's not relevant to the Shore Conference. However, Rancocas Valley leads 14-0 over Millville with 5:02 left in the first half. So yeah, I'm so used to calling WJFL games that a little bit of this is out of our comfort zone. How about Rossi? Lets this one fly. Too far. Too much mustard on that one. Intended for number 14, Blaze Scholander.
That South River defensive line has been the one bright spot in today's battle. They're getting to Rossi. They're putting good pressure. The interior defensive line is really not letting anyone get through the middle. But Rossi still finding a way to get away from the pressure, despite an ill-advised throw there. Trying to find the receiver. Was a little overthrown, but nonetheless, that's still good tape. And Coach Ciccone should be very proud about that one.
I would agree with you that South River's defensive line has been a bright spot. I would say their offensive line hasn't been bad, too. Now, to be fair, with this being a Group 1 game, your offensive line and your defensive line are likely to be the same people on both sides of the ball. But they've protected the quarterback really well, and they've allowed them to get some yards after the carry, after the scrimmage on the Wildcat. That punt bounced about 3 times. It lands on the 40, spins back, and it will go out at the – it'll stop dead at the 26-yard line. As far as I'm concerned, I think that is either the first or the second Point Pleasant drive to not be scored for a touchdown. They haven't had many like that, and that's one of the first times that Kavanaugh has needed to give himself up there. So South River and that gang will start again at their own 27, 10-16 in the third quarter. Again, the threshold for running clock is 33. So if Point Pleasant Beach gets another touchdown, we'll have a running clock until the end of the game tonight. The old rule from 2 years ago and beyond used to be that with a running clock within, I believe it was 28, I think it was, something around that. I think it was 27. And then if the team had gotten back into that threshold and made the game close, then the running clock would stop. The new rule that was enacted last year, it was either last year or 2 years ago, was that once it hits 34, the running clock continues for the rest of the game. Spinning, firing, and getting up to the 31-yard line. That'll be a gain of 4.
Seems to be Cotto's favorite move, the spin move. Utilized it there. He spun, looked like 3 times As you mentioned, you almost turned to Sonic the Hedgehog earlier.
Like I said, I like to have a little bit of fun around here.
Nonetheless, you could see Cotto is a little tired, despite, having a break from halftime. He's a guy who's playing both sides of the ball as a corner and as the primary ball handler in the backfield.
Listen, if you're Rich Marchese, your guys being tired is almost a punishment because you're down by 30 at the half. It's not something that you want to see from your program. It's not how you want to start the season. You want to put on a better show for the fans. You want to put on a better result for your players. Ball came out right at the line of scrimmage. Who picked it up? Point Pleasant Peach thinks they have it. This is what happens when I call 4 games in a weekend. Point Pleasant is celebrating. Is it premature? No. Fumble recovered by the Garnet Gulls. And what was a good start to the drive ends with a fumble and ends with a turnover. The second fumble and the third turnover by South River here in the first 3 quarters.
As I mentioned, Cotto seems to be tired, and then another handoff him out of the Wildcat formation. Unfortunately, coughs the ball up there, and if I'm Kamori Cotto, I'd be upset, but nonetheless, I'd ask for a break.
That's kind of how I feel about this right now. We'll see if Point Pleasant gets the running clock in order on this drive. It is stopped. To be fair, Point Pleasant did punt on their last drive, so it's not like they're guaranteed to break through. So we'll see what they have in store. While we're at it, let's go over some out-of-town scores. For this, we're going to do a little bit different. We're going to include South Jersey, our home base, and Shore Conference scores. Starting off with a 9 a.m. game from the Battle of the Beach, West Deptford took down Kip Cooper Academy 51-14. Maple Shade took down Wildwood in a road game at Cape May County 27-0. Our first game of the day, Collingswood beat Clayton in a hard-fought match. Look at this. Oh, he wrestles him to the ground. His helmet flew off. Is that Harris again? No, that's Cotto. Cotto's helmet flew off.
Had the fumble in the last possession, but he's not giving up. He's one of the few players for this Rams team that's trying to put his best effort forward.
Yeah, he was frustrated there and definitely took it out on that play. And after 2 plays of no gain or negative gain, it'll be 3rd and long from the 35. So it'll be 3rd and 14, it looks like.
Looks like the Garnet Gulls have slowed down a little bit, but still, when you're up by 30, you're just trying to run down the clock as much as possible and get out here with the victory. Exactly.
Don't make any mistakes. Scholander in motion to the right. Rossi drops back. Swirling out to the right. Gets hit as he throws. This is going to be a roughing the passer. How about that? Diving catch in the end zone. Kavanaugh. He's made some fantastic plays tonight. And Mr. Clock, you can keep on running and running and running. It's a 36-point game.
Danny Kavanaugh, a hat trick today. 3 receiving touchdowns. He's been electric. And that connection, that's something to look at in the Shore Conference for this upcoming year. Rossi to Kavanaugh is going to be very, very impressive. And that's going to be something in Group 1 football to take a note at.
Kavanaugh, the junior back, will have his last year with Matthew Rossi. They will attempt the single PAT. So the man who just fell into the end zone for a diving catch touchdown. Again, as you said, Matt picked up his 3rd touchdown of the night. The extra point is up away, and this one is headed for the boardwalk. It's good. It's a 37-0 game as Michael Rossi just put the cherry on top for those cherry red uniforms that Point Pleasant Beach dons tonight. 7:28 in the 3rd. Look at that catch. Fantastic work from Danny Kavanaugh, who had only 1 receiving touchdown in his 2 seasons of play prior to tonight. He's tripled it. We'll be right back. 7:30 left in the third. Wrapping up some more out-of-town scores. Starting off in the Battle of the Beach, 43-12, Washington Township beats Hillsborough. Some Shore Conference action with St. John Vianney falling by 2 points to Seton Hall Prep, 14-12 in parochial play. Diving on it is Cotto at the 30, no, that was number 11 on that one. My apologies, that was Ethan Chamberlain falling on it. And South River starts their drive from right around the 35. Hunn beat Pennington 48-0 in independent play. More in South Jersey. Pleasantville beat Salem 20-8. Atlantic City beat Mainland 25-8 at the Mid-Atlantic Pigskin Classic in Wilmington, Delaware. And then some more games scheduled for tonight. Buna and Sterling, Somerville and Shalleck, Steiner and Central Regional. That's WJFL versus Shore. Robbinsville and South Brunswick. Morristown and Watchung Hills, Monroe and West Windsor South. Cotto, the run up the middle. And then let's see if there's any more Shore Conference games that we can highlight. Point Pleasant, Borough, and Rumson Fairhaven tonight. Manasquan and Toms River South, Matawan and Hightstown. We have, what else do we have here? Do we have anything else? There were a lot. I'll tell you this, South Jersey had a lot more Thursday night games than Friday night games. I would argue that's one of the reasons why we're here for our first Friday Night Lights of game of the year, because there weren't a lot of high-level matchups in South Jersey that weren't being played at Battle of the Beach.
What the Shore Conference tends to do in week one is just have as much games go on that Thursday before school starts.
Exactly, starting the day after Labor Day. Keeper to the right side. Once again, taken by Orion Familia.
Seemed to be hard.
And someone got clobbered down there. It will be short of the first. I saw them take the pylon down, so I wasn't sure from that angle where that ball was going to be spotted, but it is spotted from the 42-yard line. It's going to be 3rd and 3-ish, it looks like. Again, 37-0. Point Pleasant Beach, rush up the middle. Left side now for Cotto. He's got some space. Does he break free for more? He's blocking a whole bunch of tackles, and he just flipped the field for a 40-yard rush.
Great vision there from Cotto.
Excuse me, 32-yard rush. My apologies. Go ahead.
It looked like to me he switched the ball from right to left on that and still found a way to get 30-plus yards on that one. And that's good. It's a good rush from that offensive line that I mentioned has been really solid today. And Cotto, given the opportunity, given a hole, he can outrun a lot.
Yeah, listen, I can't complain about that. That's definitely it's definitely a good thing that we've seen from South River is that they can break off for those runs, but they have to do that consistently enough to where they're putting points on the board. Rams line up in the I formation. Familia, handoff. Left side. That's going to be close.
Within inches.
That's going to be at least a yard, if not half a yard, shy of the goal. But it would be South River's first points of the night. This is the closest that they have gotten to the end zone after a drive to the 14, fell short, and ended with a turnover on downs.
With the game subsequently being out of reach, this is just any positive momentum for the Rams to get a score here.
Yeah, if anything, a touchdown or several touchdowns at this juncture will be touchdowns for pride, will be touchdowns for individual morale, a little bit of team morale saying, hey, you know, it's not what we wanted, but let's find something good to write home about going into week one.
We got something at least.
At the goal line, Familia, hands off. Got a hodgepodge of folks all over the place. And they are short of the goal. Trying to fix some more. My apologies. We had some fine internet connection in the first half, and now we've been dealing with some nagging internet issues as we've gone further into this game. We apologize. We have never been to Point Pleasant Beach before, so we didn't know what to expect. But again, big thanks to Joseph Saccone for having us out tonight. It's been a fun trip. South River pushes forward on 2nd and goal, and it's a touchdown, South River. A rush up the middle at the goal line is the Rams' first points of the night, and it's going to be 37-6 as they avoid a shutout, which this will be their first points against the Garnet Gulls in the 2 years that they've played each other. Again, losing 28-0 this time last year on opening night in South River.
Something to hang their heads high on.
Yeah, and it might not be the only one. They could rack up another touchdown or two. You know, kind of like the Eagles versus the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. It was 40-6. The final score was 40-22. But I'm sure those Eagles fans don't care about those last 2 or 3 scores by Kansas City. Again, 37-6, 2:11 in the third quarter. The extra point is no good. Some police activity heading down the way. And South River picks up their first points of the evening on a goal line rush. For South River, about 45 minutes away from Point Pleasant, 30 miles down the road from this, I guess you could say this Jersey Shore establishment. As with 2:11 in the third, we'll take a quick break. It's the Garnet Gulls 37, the Rams 6.
Looks like there's an injury on the field.
There is.
It's Mikado.
So during the brief outage, Point Pleasant Beach returned that opening kick to the 32. South River player was down briefly. Clock stopped for the injury with 1:21 left to play. While we finalize our Friday scores, let's flash back to opening night. Thursday, August 28th, opening day for South Jersey. As handoff up the middle, still keeping the starters in the game. The scorer of the first touchdown of the evening for the Garnet Gulls, Thomas Iosa, gets about 10, 11 yards, picks it up to the 45. And it'll be a first down for the Garnet Gulls in the final minute of the third quarter. So from Thursday night, we saw Northern Highlands take down Holy Spirit 27-12. Ocean City beat Oakcrest 32-0. Howell shut out Lacey 21-zip. Toms River East beat Manchester Township 22-6. Ocean Township beat Long Branch 27-7. Manalapan fell to Tottenville of New York 36-12. Jackson Township beat North Brunswick 33-0. There's now another rush up the middle. He's going to find another first down before the end of the quarter. We also saw Rutherford beat Pompton Lakes 21-0. Cherokee beat Middletown South 27-26. And at the end of the third quarter, we'll flip the field one more time from the 44-yard line on the opposite side. A couple of consistent rushes by the Garnet Gulls. It's 37-6 after 3 quarters here on Dan Wilkins Broadcasting. Starting the fourth quarter in Point Pleasant Beach. This broadcast is brought to you by Gray Fox Sports. Want to enhance your content or looking for high-quality photos and videos? That's easy. Get in contact with us today for quotes. Reach out to the Instagram, Gray Fox Sports, or visit grayfoxsports.net, their website. 3-yard rush for the first play of the fourth quarter. Again, in a 37-6 game, one of the hardest things for commentators, kind of breaking the fourth wall here, but kind of one of the most difficult things that you can find as a sports commentator of a game like this is trying to find things to talk about when you have a game like this. And as a high school sports reporter, not myself, but I'm saying as somebody who reports on high school, there we go. That's the proper terminology.
You got it.
What I was trying to say was, we're kind of taught to find something good out of what otherwise to the casual viewer looks like a bad game. I think South River did some things right. We were talking about earlier, we had some praise for their defensive line. They really backed up what they were going for perfectly. And they were able to pressure the quarterback, Rossi, into making some bad throws. Now, at the end of the day, it only did so much because Rossi was able to scramble out of the pocket so efficiently and make those throws on the run that they really didn't have a choice. However, South River shined in that aspect, and they got it to work, and they got them to stop a couple times. You know, this score easily could be 45, 50 points to 6, but instead it's only 37 because they made a couple of those stops, and they just made another one because it's 4th and 4.
Especially
from the 36.
That interior defensive linemen have been phenomenal for South River. They're really shutting down Aosa and Scholander, who've been the two featured backs thus far.
And if the standard band song plays on for the Garnet Gulls, the one that we've heard at pretty much every high school football game under the sun, they will go for it with a pitch back to the left. It's going to be a first down. Actually, it might be close. I might have jumped the gun a little bit that time on the rush by Aosi. They will move the chains. It is a first down for Point Pleasant Beach.
It's a brutal blow here for South River. It's unfortunate. They thought they'd have an opportunity to regain the ball, stopping them in 4th down, but no. Just that strong rushing attack, or it's becoming stronger throughout the game. On this drive especially, the rushing attack has really thrived. Scholander, Aosa, better than Dry's past, but nonetheless, a tough pill to swallow for the Rams.
Yeah, listen, I mean, I look at this game and I think that, first of all, it's a 31-point lead compared to a 28-point lead that Point Pleasant won with this time last year. And we've said it like a broken record. Again, Point Pleasant was favored in this game, and they have proven why they are in the division that they are, and they have proven why they're in the position that they are as a very small school in the Shore Conference. I mean, they could knock off some good Shore Conference talent this year, and they're in the D North division. Now, the Shore Conference, they align their divisions as A, B, C, D, I assume depending on a combination of the school size and
really
the performance.
based off, like, geographical location.
When I think of, like, well, the problem is that there's a negative connotation with the idea of being in the D division. It makes it sound like you're worse than everybody else. But Point Pleasant, they went 6-4 last year. They had some really good games, and obviously they saw Michael Rossi play really well during his junior campaign. New Egypt, the newest member of the Shore Conference, which came over from the WJFL, also got put in that D bracket in the D North division. They actually play Point Pleasant on Friday, September 12th. And the good thing for these Point Pleasant fans is that they have 3 straight Friday night lights to start the year. They've got tonight, Friday the 5th versus Asbury Park, the Bishops, and then Friday the 12th versus New Egypt. Then they have 3 straight road games, Monmouth, Keyport, and Shore, which is going to be a really tough game. I think Shore and Point Pleasant is going to be a fantastic game on October the 3rd, and then they close out with 2 home games, Lakewood and Keensburg, on the 10th and the 24th.
It always feels like that Shore and Point Pleasant Beach are really the cream of the crop for Shore Conference Group 1 teams.
Exactly. Like when we talk about Group 1 teams, there's obviously Glassboro in the mix. There's Woodbury. There's Woodstown. There's Kip Cooper. There's a lot of teams that really can make a splash, but these teams are so far removed from each other. Point Pleasant Beach actually had one of the longest travel times in all of New Jersey for playoff games because of the South Central Division. When they had their football brackets, they had to travel an hour and 44 minutes to get to Glassboro. It was the second longest travel time outside of Red Bank Regional traveling to Millville, which was an hour and 58 for the playoffs this year. Rush up the middle to the right side on 4th and short. Might get stopped here. They're telling them to move the chains. Or I'm not sure exactly, to be quite honest with you. That was the rush by number 17, Mike Scholander. It's hard to tell. Yeah, they did flip the chains over.
It looks like there's a new quarterback in the game as Rossi's on the sideline.
Rossi is on the sideline. The new quarterback is number 4, Billy Cavanaugh. The sophomore is the new quarterback for the Garnet Gulls. So again, going into the backup territory here. We just saw the rush from Mike Scholander. Cavanaugh had 1 pass, 1 attempt, and he's 1 for 1 in his high school career as he rushes this one up the middle with under 6 minutes left to play in the 4th.
And that ends Rossi's day, presumably. And what a
I see no
performance.
reason for him to come back. It's a 31-point game.
What a week 1 performance here. That's a statement. If college coaches are looking to recruit a guy like that, that's already a stepping stone in the right direction for week 1.
Absolutely. By the way, big thanks to Bob Batters of the Jersey Shore Sports Insider. He's been retweeting a lot of final scores from tonight. Matawan fell to Hightstown 9-7 on a game-winning field goal that hit the upright and went through in the final seconds. And then 28-0 Brick Memorial over Wall, it looks like. 2nd and 9 here. That rush to the right. We've got a penalty flag on the play. Central Regional beat Steiner 27-6. And for our Point Pleasant friends, I don't know if it's friends or if it's rivals from across town, Point Pleasant Borough fell to Rumson Fairhaven 34-0 in non-divisional play.
Point Borough just
illegal block in the back that time.
That triple option that Point Borough runs is remarkable. Year in and year out, they always have someone, whether it was Jake Crochet, Matt Oliphant from a couple years back. They always produce these guys who play high-level football after they leave Point Borough. And Jake Clayton, the guy who's the quarterback this year, I feel like he's in that stepping stone of the Oliphants and the Crochets.
Well, tonight it's been about the Rossies for Point Pleasant. We'll have to see what his stats are at the final end of the day. I'd have to imagine, well, first of all, where does your player of the game honors lie? Because it could go with Michael Rossi for his fantastic performance, but you could also give Danny Cavanaugh a run for his money for his 3 touchdowns.
You could say
and
Krager
his
as
diving
well.
catch. Krager, for the fact that he came storming out of the gate as a freshman, a true freshman, in his first high school football game, comes out on Friday Night Lights in this packed environment. I mean, I know when you're looking at the visiting grandstands, there's some empty seats up there, but there's been a lot of seats full for Point Pleasant Beach before the 4th quarter of tonight's game. Obviously, it's filed out a little bit now with the game being settled, basically.
Yeah, under 4 minutes left. 31-point lead now for the Garnet Gulls. And just what a performance. And I think Rossi undoubtedly is going to be a player of the game.
Yeah, I think, listen, if you're not sure, give it to the quarterback, and that's Matthew Rossi. I mean, listen, the offensive progression that he had, growing 5 inches in the offseason, now coming in, and it even looks like Point Pleasant Borough is changing to a 3rd quarterback now, unless that was just a late entry on the huddle. Mike Scholander, who actually picked up a rush. So, again, the starter, Matthew Rossi, we saw about 5 snaps from, maybe not even 5 snaps from Billy Cavanaugh, and now Scholander's in the game. It's going to be rolled out to the right, gets hit in the backfield, stays up, breaks a tackle, and whistles fly at the 40. That one was rushed by sophomore number 22, Max Remay, or Ream, not sure exactly, but under 2.5 minutes left. Stay tuned for the Dan Wilkins Broadcasting postgame show presented by DAWG Pro Wrestling, the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators. Around this time tomorrow, they'll be ready to go from Glassboro and Rowan University for Saturday Night SmackDown. We will not be live streaming the event. However, we will be filming a promo with our good friend Lawrence Zirconium, the head of Dog Pro Wrestling.
Nonetheless, performance of a lifetime for the Garnet Gulls. Now it's be now or never. 2 minutes and 12 seconds left. It just looks like it's going to be 1-0 for the Garnet Gulls, and that's already making a statement in the short conference. D North's going to be a competitive division. You have New Egypt, you have Monmouth Regional, Keensburg, Keyport. So we'll see what happens among this year. After this game, they should be the early division favorites.
And I think that you're going to see Point Pleasant get a big win over Asbury Park tomorrow. I think that's, again, favored for the Garnet Gulls. But as well, New Egypt is going to be a good competition Friday night.
Steve Fentz, phenomenal head coach.
Oh, he is a fantastic head coach. And then, of course, Shore Regional on October 3rd. The standings from last year in D North, Shore took the division with a 10-1 overall record, 6-0 in the division. Point Pleasant was second, 6-4, and then 3-4 was New Egypt and Neptune, a team that Point Pleasant lost to 43-14, but was also Matt Rossi's best offensive game of the 2024 junior season, throwing for 184 yards. And then 5 through 7, Asbury Park at 3-6, Keyport at 1-9, and then Keensburg at 1-7. It's funny how we covered Keensburg back in 2023 in a consolation game versus Pennsville, back before the NJSIAA ditched the consolation brackets, which, I mean, listen, I think that it was good intentions to get teams more games, but now that less and less teams are playing on Thanksgiving Day, you only have a handful of them left. I think that it was a wise decision by the state to remove that distinction, as there'll be a rush. That's number 33 for South River. That is Felipe Granadero, the senior back. 1:10 left. But my closing point is that, listen, as less teams are gathering for Thanksgiving games, and now that Week 5, Week 6 non-divisional buffer has been put in, it makes it a little bit easier for those rivalries to be played when it matters more, which is during the regular season. So there's pros and cons to it. Obviously, I'd like to see more teams play on Thanksgiving.
You'd love to see as much high school football as you could get.
Oh, yeah. Allows for some really interesting scenarios, too, for teams that miss the playoffs.
Just beat their rival.
How about this for a good spin by Cotto, with South River keeping their starters in the game. There's 30 seconds left. They'll keep the chains moving, but how much time does South River have? They have about 25 seconds. And how much time do they want to spend? Do they want to run another play in a 31-point game, or is this going to be the final play of the night?
Yeah, it looks like they're just out of it. They're done.
They're lining it. Well, the first one to line up at the 50 was Matthew Rossi. They will take the huddle break. They got it off before the snap. They're going to run one more play. They run it to the left side. They're going to get it to about the 10, and that will be short, and that will do it. A fantastic statement win on opening night for Point Pleasant Beach here in the Shore Conference. They win this thing 37-6, 31-point victory. They scored 30 unanswered in the first half. Never really got that chippy. We only had one personal foul. South River made a lot of mistakes, and Point Pleasant Beach, well, they just toppled them.
Yeah, they capitalized on all of South River's mistakes today. And again, as I mentioned time and time again, it's a statement win for the other teams in the Shore Conference that may not take a Group 1 team serious like Point Pleasant Beach, like Shore Regional, but nonetheless a fantastic game for the Garnet Gulls as they advance to 1-0, and now they focus on their next week matchup against Asbury Park, who's always a tough test despite their record in recent memory.
Yeah, listen, I mean, the D North division is going to be I think it's going to be a two-man race, in my opinion, between Shore Regional and Point Pleasant Beach. I think you could argue New Egypt deserves a little bit of love as well. You could argue Neptune could be a dark horse. They finished 5-5 last year with an even 3-3 record in their division. So, long story short, let's flip this camera back around and let's have our final thoughts in the DWB postgame show. Yes, it's bright, but that's how bright we have to make it to be in the press box here at Donald T. Fioretti Field. First of all, Matt, great job on your first DWB broadcast. We're glad to have you back, I believe, next week on next Friday. But listen, I mean, this was a game that was decided. Thank you very much. We'll hope to be back in the beach soon. But listen, I mean, first of all, Point Pleasant Beach, again, Joseph Saccone, head coach, thank you so much for having us. It's a fantastic environment here. It was packed when we got the kickoff, and these fans are electric, the cheerleaders, the whole team. Everybody's fired up in this town, and I think that, listen, they know what they could have had. They had a good playoff appearance last year. They ran into the bullet train that was Glassboro, and I think they Glassboro put up like 62 points on them.
64-7.
That's right. Yeah, it was 64-7 last year. And listen, Point Pleasant knows what it's like to be on both ends of big wins, and they know what it's like to be on both ends of lopsided wins. So the question is tonight, Point Pleasant Beach, they put up 37. They give up 6 to South River when the game was decided. This was domination. And honestly, this was, for my first impression of seeing Matthew Rossi in person, what a night it was for the senior quarterback.
Absolutely. This is a guy who could play college football.
Oh, absolutely.
At a Division II program, Division III program, Matthew Rossi, this is a guy who stays poised in the pocket. He doesn't fold under pressure. We saw when free rushers would run at him, he would escape the pressure, and he'd be comfortable. He was comfortable in the pocket, and that's what you love to see out of your quarterback. He has that ideal size. He has that ideal frame, and that's what you like. You know, this is a guy who I think is the leader of this team, and what a show he had tonight.
Yeah, listen, you might want to recruit him for the Pioneers next year, but listen, I mean, this was the 1-2 tandem show of Danny Cavanaugh and Matthew Rossi. Three receiving touchdowns for Cavanaugh. I don't know how many receiving yards he had, but it had to be over 100 because guess what the first play was? It was a 71-yard reception. They got them to the 10-yard line. 3 plays later, they're in the end zone.
I wouldn't be shocked if he was in the 180s, 190s,
something
low 200s.
Like that. Yeah, we would have to check when the game's over, but listen, I mean, this was a statement win. Asbury Park's going to be afraid going into Friday, or if they're not afraid on the outside, they might be a little bit on the inside. I'd say the same for New Egypt in 2 weeks as well. This is a battle-tested now Point Pleasant team who I was surprised by how much they went to the air for the amount of passing yards that Rossi had last year as a junior. That could double this year. We could see a 1,000-yard season out of Rossi, and I think that it's going to be a good test to see in Week 1 versus Asbury Park, and especially Week 2 versus New Egypt, how those two are going to go about it. Because, again, New Egypt and Point Pleasant Beach, I think that's going to be a fantastic game in 2 weeks' time. But let's talk about South River for a second. They made a lot of mistakes, but I don't think that they inherently played a bad game. There were mistakes made, but, again, they had some bright spots. They had some good rushes, and I like where their offense is headed. They ran out of the Wildcat formation a lot of times. They only passed the ball a handful of times throughout the night. And for a guy on South River, for a guy like Orion Familia, he had a good season last year. But South River they couldn't get it done down the stretch, and that's where they finished 3-7. But 2 of their wins came in the division. They won 2 of their 5 games in the Freedom Gold Division of the Big Central Conference. So the question is for South River, you go back home tomorrow, you go back home tonight, you go into the Week 1 game, and there's a lot to improve for South River, but there's a lot to like. Again, their offensive line held up well, and they forced Rossi to scramble out of the pocket a lot of the times. Again, the defensive line held up when it needed to. And, the offensive line, it aided their quarterback, Orion, and it also aided their assist and their attack of Rossi, the quarterback, for Point Pleasant Beach. So I liked how the offensive and defensive lines work. Again, in Group 1 and 2 football, a lot of times your offensive linemen are your defensive linemen.
Yeah.
There's no overlap there. But they go back home tomorrow. They've got a 1 o'clock game on Saturday, the 6th versus Metuchen, and then they're on the road versus Roselle Park. Then they're home to Spotswood, away at Dayton, Del Val, and then two road games at Brearley and South Plainfield before closing out the season versus Highland Park. Tonight, though, I think that this just wasn't South River's night. When you get down that quick, that early, and that big, 30-0 at the half, it's hard to come back from that. What do you say to your players at halftime there? I don't know, But what I do know is that it probably wasn't a lot of positive thinking if I'm South River.
Not at all. But Kamori Kodo did show out his signature spin move. I love seeing it all
I love
night.
seeing that as well.
This interior defensive line, especially the defensive tackles, the nose tackles, played very well today. They shut down that rushing attack. Thomas Aosa and Sholander did not really get too many rushing yards, but this is an air raid attack now for Point Pleasant Beach. Rossi looks very poised, as I mentioned previously, but that's something to hold high on. You know, this is a good defensive line. It's a good offensive line. You have playmakers in Cotto. So we'll see what happens in the near future with South River. You know, this is a non-divisional game. It doesn't hurt as much as a divisional football game. So we'll see what happens with this team moving forward.
And with the history, I don't know if it hurts much in the same sense because they lost by 28 this time last year. It probably hurt more last year because it was a home game for South River to open up your year. You know, as somebody who attended I attended Audubon High School. I've seen a lot of my high school football games where we were losing by 20, 30 points at the half. And, you know, when you're at home, that's where it hurts the most.
Yeah.
These guys will have a 45-minute bus ride back to South River tonight. And listen, they're going to get home late. They're going to go to bed, and they're going to wake up tomorrow, and they're going to try to fight for a new day, and they're going to have another objective being Metuchen on Saturday afternoon. Again, my player of the game, honor by DAWG Pro Wrestling, the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiator, or our dog of the game, is of Point Pleasant Beach. I'm going to give it to the quarterback. I'm going to give it to Matt Rossi. I could give it to Danny Cavanaugh. But, I mean, Rossi, his first impression this year, he was good last year, but this year he's great. And in just one half, he was able to make that leap. He was able to make the leap that really, like, you could feel the crowd's energy be like, wow, this kid is the real deal. And for those that watched him last year, which I was not one of them, but, again, from who we talked to here at Point Pleasant, it was completely different, night and day. And for this, Matt Rossi's in the day part. He is locked in there, and he's solid. Any final thoughts from you?
I just want to see Point Pleasant throughout the future of the season improve that rushing unit. They lose Liam Bronson, who had over 1,100 rushing yards a season ago. Hopefully they could click on both cylinders, whether it's the passing game or the rushing game. But this is a great win for them, starting the season off 1-0 with South River. There's still a lack to be desired, but Coach Marchese, he's been there for 30-plus years. We'll see what he could do to help his team out throughout the rest of the season.
The Marchese name in either South River or even in Delsey down in Gloucester County. If you've got that surname, you're a legendary football coach. That's all for us tonight here on Dan Wilkins Broadcasting. To our new viewers out of South River or Point Pleasant Beach, thank you very much for joining us. Obviously, we've covered Point Pleasant Beach in state semifinal games in the past, but this is my first trip up to the beach. I'm happy to be back, and hopefully we'll be coming back sometime either in the fall or the winter or the spring because you guys have a fantastic facility. I'll be happy to come back in 2025 or 2026. From our entire crew, our social media coordinator, Haley Mejia, our graphics crew, Gavin Van Rel, Caleb Lane, and Carson Rosso, my producer off screen to my right, holding the flashlight in this dimly lit press box. Say hello, Vince.
I'll pop in.
Yeah, that was right in my eye, the flashlight. Thank you very much. Then to my left, my color commentator out of William Patterson University, Matt Goldman. I'm Dan Wilkins. We will see you at 12 noon tomorrow. I'm going to need some hot tea in the morning for game 4 out of 4. It's the Paulsboro Red Raiders and the Penns Grove Red Devils from Jim Devonshire Field in Salem County. The final score tonight, Point Pleasant Beach 37, South River 6. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one, folks.